You are now tuned in to the Six Man Podcast. I'm Brandon Graham alongside Michael Roach. You can find Michael Roach at Mike_Roach_ on Twitter and Mike Roach 7 on Instagram. And of course, follow the Mike Roach Podcast, Hustle Play Podcast, whereas I have the First and 10 podcast right behind me, going up with CFL, as well as, of course, this podcast that we have right here. Make sure to see our stuff on YouTube as well when it comes to being our Oaksby Media, wherever it may be. We have all of your sports needs covered. Michael, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, bro. What's going on, BG?
Hey, listen, man. I'm chilling, recovering, of course, but enjoying this NBA basketball. And I've been right. Every one of my predictions for every series, other than the Milwaukee series, was right.
You were right for Dallas?
No, I was not right for Dallas. No one predicted Dallas actually happening. And let's start with that. Let's start with that and go into it very soon before we get into some other pop culture topics, of course. But yes, once again, thank you. And it's senior posts and whatnot. I don't know if Puma's already sponsored you, but they have to sponsor you. I'm going to continue saying this until they sponsor you, my friend.
Well, listen, I went for a run Sunday morning and I was wearing Nike. Okay, so.
Oh, you went for a run?
I went for a run. I was wearing Nike gear. So.
Okay.
I'm transitioning, BG.
Listen.
Puma better get it together.
Listen, they're about to strip all of your power away from Nike, from Puma, just like they're about to take away Kyrie Irving's shoe deal right now. He's actually not going to get the deal anymore because John Morant's probably going to get it soon, if you really think about it. Anyways, I digress, and we digress into the Western Conference semifinals. We saw the Dallas Mavericks going up against the Phoenix Suns, and the Phoenix Suns being the number one seed in the Western Conference the entire year, have the best road record, of course, in the NBA, and then, of course, them going down to Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Spencer Dinwiddie. Remember on this podcast we were talking about the Washington Wizards not respecting Spencer Dinwiddie? He apparently was trying to do a bunch of.
Remember we talked about that? We spoke about Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie's nice.
He's nice. I want to say something. So Spencer Dinwiddie's contract, 95% of the contract was in cryptocurrency, and I think Bitcoin, a lot of it has actually gone down. So he's actually playing for another contract right now. He's in a contract year. So him in that game 7, pretty much going lights out, not really missing too many. He pretty much did not miss a shot in the first half at all, and getting the win for Dallas. The prices went up. The teams will want to sign him now going forward. But I want to get your take, man. Will Chris Paul ever win a championship? You tell me right now, man. This is his year.
Well, listen, and we've also spoken about this multiple times before. This is why windows are crucial when it comes to sports.
Absolutely.
And this is exactly what I was telling you. It was going to be tough. We spoke last year after Phoenix lost, and we said it is going to be much tougher for them to win if they didn't win that year, because everything gets harder when you look at these teams. Denver, you're going to come back again with Dallas is going to be better. Memphis is going to be better. Golden State is still going to be really good. And a whole bunch of other teams. We don't know what's going on with Utah, what's going to go on with the Lakers, Pelicans are going to be better. And there's other teams that I haven't even mentioned yet. So when you don't win in that window, sometimes it closes for you. And now if you come back with the same team, pretty much like they did last season, you ain't making it this far again.
No.
Not with the same roster. Not after what we just saw. Not after how they figured you out, right? Mm-hmm. And this was just Dallas. There's going to be better teams in Dallas, especially if Dallas comes back presently constructed the way they are. So it is going to be tough for Chris Paul. I mean, can they get to another championship? Yeah, they can. But what moves are they going to make? You're not going to get there coming back with the same roster. They just don't have the offensive firepower. Defensively, they're good. We know that. They have good players, but they don't have the offensive juggernauts that they need in order to really make a huge splash. It's one thing when you do it one time, right? And get to that finals, nobody can really figure you out. But now when people have done that, that's going to be hard to do again. It's going to be hard to do for a third time.
Yeah, and Monty Williams even said that he believes that he rode these guys, like his main core guys, a little bit too much in this season. That's something that's kind of like a cop-out, whatever.
Who else do you have?
You have no one else. There's no one in your bench.
That's what I'm saying.
Dario Saric is injured. Probably to bring back JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee actually played well. Contrary to popular belief, he played decently. He has a good role in this team. But then you got to think about it this summer. Do you pay DeAndre Ayton? DeAndre Ayton, at sometimes great defensive player, don't get me wrong, when he's locked in. But sometimes it looks as though he hasn't played basketball. Getting the ball in the low post, it's like it doesn't know what to do, especially when the double comes his way. Has trouble finding the open man sometimes. Has a lot more development that needs to go on with his game. Right? So they need to decide if they want to give him the Supermax contract, and they will. It will be Devin Booker and, of course, DeAndre Ayton coming back, Mikal Bridges, and the core coming constructed back.
Did you say he will get the max?
You can't not give him the max. He's the first round. He's the first overall draft pick. There's no way you cannot give him. What do you think? What do you think?
I don't know if you do. Like, if they do give him a max, I see it. I don't know how they feel about DeAndre Ayton, to be completely honest with you, in Phoenix. I really don't, because there have been multiple times where we have seen this guy just not show up.
Absolutely.
And clearly, when they were asked about DeAndre Ayton, they said it was something internal. I don't know what's going on between him and Monty Williams, but something ain't right.
He plays so many games. They said he's a gamer. He plays a game. He doesn't do anything else but play games, locks in his room. He's one of those people. That's what they said for mental health. Think about that, right? So don't know the man's playing too much games and doesn't understand basketball. Sorry, keep going.
No, I mean, I hear you. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I'm not sure what the deal is going to be over the summer. I feel like if they give him a big deal, it's really to use him as an asset for a trade, to be quite honest with you. They're not going to lose him for nothing, so he's going to get money. But I just feel like they're probably going to use him for a trade.
That would make the most sense, and I don't think it's worked too well. I think he played decently in the leading up to the playoffs last year. And
I'm not saying to trade him. I'm not saying to trade him, by the way, because I still believe in him. I think he could be really, really good in this league. I think he has some things to figure out, but I just don't know if he'll be sticking around in Phoenix for the long term.
But it's like, if you don't get him, who are you going to get to replace to fill that void? Because the NBA is 5 out at this point. 5 out, a lot of pick and roll, a lot of screen action, a lot of pin down, so on and so forth. He doesn't really excel too much in any of those categories unless it's underneath the basket, right? So it's really Phoenix has I think they're in a tough position. I know you have Devin Booker. Devin Booker's going to want to stay there. He already has the max. They're in remember, 37-year-old Chris Paul coming back. It's going to be tough. You're not getting back to that point. So I think Chris Paul.
It is going to be tough.
It's, really tough. And then going forward with the Eastern Conference, you saw the Boston Celtics beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 7 in Boston. Right? Great game from Marcus Smart. Got a lot of production from Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Grant Williams, of course. 21 points off of threes in general, right? So, like, really great game there. You think Milwaukee will come back just as strong, or they have to make some changes to the team?
Well, they're not going to make many changes. Like, first of all, your second best player was not in the lineup in Chris Middleton, right? So obviously that makes a huge difference in your lineup. Now, you may have to tweak some pieces on your bench. That's where I see, them making a few changes. It did hurt them to lose a guy like PJ Tucker, as you can see, just because he's big, girth, strong. He can make shots, especially that corner three, right? And he's just flat out tough, defensive-minded, good communicator. All of those things matter, right? So, I mean, I don't think they have too many changes to make. Really, they just got to be healthy and kind of get some gritty, tough defenders on their bench. I don't see them having to do really too much.
Too much of that team. It's definitely a minor construction, especially in the offseason, but they try to replace PJ Tucker with Grayson Allen. And then when you do that, there's going to be nothing but disappointment. All right. But now, seeing game 1 in the Eastern Conference, where you got a chance to see Boston go up against the Miami Heat. We'll start in the Eastern Conference. Mm-hmm. Without Kyle Lowry, you have Max Strus. Duncan Robinson's getting paid $90 million, and he's sitting on the bench. Right?
That's the weirdest thing ever.
But it makes sense, because you have a guy like, you have Tyler Hero. You have guys that move the ball a lot better, guys that can actually create their own shot and not just stand up spot-up shooters. You have Max Strus, who's an absolute baller. Max Strus is nice. Okay. You have Gabe Vincent, who's able to.
Strus is nice. Yeah,
Right.
Strus is nice.
You have Gabe Vincent, who was able, to.
Vincent's
by the way,
nice too.
Exactly. The only Gabe that's ever good at basketball, but he can handle the ball, dish the ball, get it to guys like Jimmy Butler if he really wants to. And of course, Jimmy Butler is just team all heart, right? You have a great team.
Yeah,
You have Bam. But I thought, and I still have the Celtics winning in round 7. I just feel that this game is going to change, and then the next game is going to be different. What do you think?
I picked the Celtics to come out of the East. But I mean, these teams are so evenly matched at this point. It's really hard to decide. Now, if you're saying that Al Horford and Marcus Smart are not going to be in the lineup, then obviously I would go with the Heat. But if everyone's healthy, and we expected obviously everybody to be healthy going into this lineup, it was a shame that Marcus Smart and Al Horford didn't get to play, because obviously you want to be able to see your best players play. But Jaylen Brown, Tatum, they're going to have to go in. Like, they are going to have to go in.
Yeah.
Because if not them, then who? Like, you have other nice role players that are in your lineup, but Marcus Smart can give you 20. Al Horford for sure can give you at least 15 or 16 and probably close to 10 boards. Now, you do have other nice players, but how many of them can really create their own shot?
Not many. You have Peyton Pritchard, who he's a guard. He can get up and down the floor and create his own shot if you need to, but you're not relying on him for points for 12 off the bench, right? You have Grant Williams, who can definitely get in the post and make an open jump shot. He's shown that throughout the playoffs thus far. But Marcus Smart, first of all, Defensive Player of the Year, first guard to have the Defensive Player of the Year since, I believe,
Gary Payton,
Gary Payton. Yeah, Gary Payton's a long time, but Gary Payton's the last time actually, has had a guard actually win that. And I think it's deservedly so. I think a lot of guys thought they wouldn't get it, but I think he's deservedly so. And he'll give you 20. He'll give you 20, put up shots. But Jaylen Brown struggled in this game. The first half, up until the third, he had a good fourth quarter, but the game was already over. Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, in the third quarter, they just ran all over them.
Exactly, right? And that third quarter is when everything turned. Jayson Tatum was having a good game up to that point, but now you're getting blitzed. You're getting rushed by 2 guys. And who else is going to make the shots, right? Plus the crowd's in it. Everyone's in it. Jimmy Butler's stealing the ball, going to the basket. It's going to be tough for them to win in.
They could not stop Jimmy Butler.
It was a 25-3 run.
Dude, Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that must be so frustrating to play against, because you know how he's going to play. You know how he's going to play. He's going to be tough, hard-nosed, physical. He's not going to stop. He's going to have confidence. Jimmy Butler is just a problem in this league. Like, he really is. He has to be one of the toughest guys to play against. He doesn't care about settling for taking threes. That ain't his game. He'll get into the mid-range. He'll get to the basket. Like I mentioned, physically tough, and he can make the three here and there. But, God, just him as a competitor. Him as a competitor, always being willing to just same game plan over and over and over again. He will play bully ball. And the dude is just physically strong. He's just physically strong. Like, he's like a bulldog almost. You know what I mean? It's like, it's tough, man.
He's like a running back. He's built like a football player. You know what I'm saying? And he's just tough defense. You want to have him on your team, and you'll give him the max contract because he plays such good defense. And he said, Tobias Harris over me, you gave him the contract. That was a dumb decision on their part in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's entire story.
Jimmy Butler, and that was crazy, wasn't it? That was crazy watching that. But Jimmy Butler looks like he eats loaves of hardo bread for dinner.
Aki, sawfish, bami, breadfruit, everything. You know he's REO. You know he's on that. All the festivals. Harder bread Escovitch. Of course, this guy eats Escovitch for breakfast. But 100%. He's an absolute beast. And I think that's him playing to that level is the only thing I'm worried about for the Boston Celtics. I think this is the year for the Boston Celtics to get to the finals. But because it's just, you got to get one game in Miami. And I think it's so hard to get a game in Miami unless you saw with the Raptors going to triple overtime to get that game. You got to get lucky. They played so well at home They have so many guys that can. We haven't even mentioned this, but Tyler Hero is a problem. Max Strus is a problem. Gabe Vincent can be a problem.
They got depth on that squad, man. They got depth.
Guard.
Victor Oladipo. Yeah,
problem.
Man. Martin.
Yep.
Bam,
to
Tucker,
the point where
like
Tucker, you literally have so much depth to the point where you have to bench someone that you're giving $90 million to. There were two guys making $180 million. They were sending Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson were not on. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And Pat Riley
insane.
Definitely runs the mafia. Anyways, I want to go over to the Western Conference now and your predictions for the Dallas Mavericks. Last time the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors met up in the playoffs was when the Believe team happened, when the number one Mavs went to Golden State and got beat by Baron Davis, Harrington,
really?
Monte
That's
Ellis.
The last time?
That's the last time they've ever linked up in the playoffs ever, which is nuts. But it just shows you how many years.
Series too.
Remember when he dunked on? I remember he dunked on someone, Baron Davis. Like I'm gonna say he stood in the air, traveling on the.
Oh no, that was against Utah.
Oh, Utah. Okay,
that was on Andre Kirilenko. One of the nastiest dunks of all time.
Like this Guaranteed. Is for Putin. Yeah, that was disgusting. I remember him. Yeah, that was
crazy,
ridiculous. And I remember someone actually saying that he was like KD probably said that one-on-one. Baron Davis is one of the best one-on-one players ever. I digress. Mm-hmm. In this series, you have Luka Doncic, who's going nuclear. He was averaging 31 points in the playoffs leading up to this series. Now he's averaging with the Game 7 game. He's averaging around 36 points in the playoffs, shooting around 45%. Incredible, right? Especially then when he shot 11 for 15 in the Game 7 against the Suns. 30 points and 3 assists. Played great. Jalen Brunson had a great game as well too. He's just efficient. He's Mr. Efficient to me. He's like Andre Miller, but a better jump shot, able to create his own shot and able to facilitate. He's just a better Andre Miller. Steady game. Do you think the Golden State Warriors, great size, exactly. Do you think the Golden State Warriors can stop Luka Doncic? Because I think this is a terrible matchup for them right now, defensively.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people aren't giving Dallas much of a chance in this series at all. And I just think that's crazy.
Ludicrous.
I really do, because the reason people are doing that, by the way, is because when you think of Dallas, really the only person you think of on the roster is Luka Doncic. Like, that's it. When you think of Golden State, you think of depth, right? So you think of Steph and you think of Clay and you think of Draymond, Poole, Wiggins, Kuminga. But when you think of Dallas, you don't really think, all right, now we're going to say Spencer Dinwiddie because we've seen him go off against Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Brunson has been playing nice. He's been playing steady.
Really, really well.
He has been putting in that work. But it's these other guys, Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys have to show up. They have to. Absolutely. There are no if and or buts, because Golden State is just too much of an offensive juggernaut that if a few of those guys get off, like Poole, even a guy like Wiggins, we don't even have to mention Steph, because we already know what Steph is going to do. Klay Thompson has been a little inconsistent thus far, but I think he's still kind of, find that rhythm. Right. And, so sometimes he's off a little bit, but if he's on, that's a problem. He can drop 30 on any given night just with shooting. Nothing. He doesn't have to do anything else except shoot threes, kind of like Steph, but Steph will mix it up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Can Dallas match that offensively? Do you believe they have the offensive pieces to be able to get into a shooting fest with GSW?
That's a great question. I don't think so. But one thing, when you mentioned Klay Thompson, his IG story, after Game 6 against Memphis, he posted, it's like Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, Game 6 is a picture of him. He put up a picture of Michael Jackson, Tyson, Jordan. It was the coldest story I've ever seen in my life. Amazing. Klay Thompson was hilarious for that. But one thing about Dallas is that they have experience, experience in big games. Mm-hmm. Luka Doncic was 16 years old, playing in the second best league in the world, right, in Europe with Real Madrid. And he was actually putting, giving man's buckets when he's 16. Jalen Brunson has 2 championships in the NCAA with Villanova. he's played in big games his entire life and he's steady. So these big games don't really mean that. And I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, makes sense. They're experienced. They've already been in big games. This is not glaring to them because they've been in these situations before. Luka Doncic at 16 years old was playing in championship games.
Yeah.
This is nothing. This is nothing to him, right? So like, I think those guys, especially because they're hot right now. You got Dorian Finney-Smith. You guys like Reggie Bullock is playing really well defensively, offensively, especially Dinwiddie, Kleber, as you mentioned, Dwight Powell. Shout out to Canada, Scarborough. He's playing well as well too.
Reggie Bullock.
Reggie Bullock, exactly. Playing off of a Achilles injury, he's come back fully. He's been great, giving men's hope. I really think that they can match it. I think they're gonna have to throw. It's gonna be tough for Golden State to match up with them because like you have Draymond on Luka Doncic, but I don't think you can stay with him too much. You would have to put Kuminga on him. Kuminga couldn't even stay in front of John Morant. It's gonna be hard. They had trouble guarding the Memphis Grizzlies without John Morant. This team is better offensively. If you really think about it, there are more weapons on Dallas than that. And that's the reason why they're here, because they've gotten hot. They've played what they peaked at the right moment. And Jason Kidd is just really good at putting guys in places to exploit matchups. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to go at Steph Curry. I think they're going to go at Klay Thompson. I think they're going to double Luka, but other guys will get involved and have to not be fazed by the crowd. But Dallas is a really ruckus crowd as well, too. So I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I see Golden State winning. I have a bet on that as well, too. But I think it's going to be a tough series. If Dallas gets one game on the road, it's going to be tough.
I think it's going to be a tough series for sure. And like you mentioned, with all those guys you just mentioned, like it's going to be a battle of small ball.
Yes.
You know, like it's going to be a battle of small ball. So it's going to be really interesting, but it should be fun. And I wouldn't just count out Dallas like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to be very interesting, though, because I'm wondering how much they're going to be able to contain Luka. That's what I'm interested in seeing.
You can't really contain Luka, though. You can contain him, but there's too many pick and rolls. You can't stop him. You can't stop him, right? He's too good. Yeah. So, and he's how tall is he? Like 6'7", 6'8"? So
yeah, he's big dude.
Yeah, big dude. He's already gonna get down. It's gonna be an interesting game, and I'm gonna take Golden State in 6. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if something else happened. I'm just telling you that right now. Okay. Anyhow, let's get to some other stuff. What was your take on Ozark? What was your take on the show? You watch Atlanta?
No.
Okay, you should watch that show. I'm telling you right now, you should watch that show.
I heard it's fire. What season are they
incredible. 3rd season, but you can watch everything on Soap Today. You can catch up in it's half an hour show, so there's you can get by it easily. Incredible. But yeah, Ozark. Give me your take on the ending of that, and we'll kind of get out of here. By the way, do you have a prediction for? You know what? Let me go back. Let me scale back and I have to edit this out later. But what you're seeing with these 4 teams that are left is that small ball evolution. We're not seeing the traditional 5-man if you really think about it, other than Tice, Robert Williams,
Horford, yeah,
Bam Adebayo, yeah.
No, like Boston has their bigs, but yeah, a lot of the teams are they go small,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So it's interesting.
That's just the way that they're playing right now. That is a little bit of the evolution of the NBA. But I mean, if you can find a nice traditional big who can periodically step out to the 3-point line and make some shots, that's pretty good. But a lot of teams just don't have that guy. So your bigs are a bit smaller. It could be 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", whatever. And you use that player, if they're big enough to make threes, to open up the floor for everybody else. And like you mentioned, play 5 out, right? So
exactly.
That's just the way they're headed.
Exactly. And that's just the way you got to build your teams going forward. That's why I don't think the Raptors are going to be in a bad position. Anyways, need to know your take on Ozark, and we'll get out of here, man. What out of 10, just give me a ranking. Do you think there's going to be a spinoff? What exactly do you think is happening?
I didn't like the end. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I wasn't expecting Ruth to die. I was expecting the wife to die. I wasn't expecting Ruth to die. I kind of wanted Ruth to be in a spinoff.
Yes, me too.
With the son.
Right.
But I do think there will be a spinoff with the son. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure. Like, Ruth still has the cousin left. Right?
Yes.
So he's still around.
Yes.
And the way they ended it, taking out the cop or whatever.
We don't know that. We don't know that though. We don't know that.
True.
Yeah,
we don't know that. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. That's for sure. It'll be interesting because I do think there will be a spinoff.
Yes, I'm surprised they didn't kill Wendy. I think Wendy needed to go.
That's what I thought was gonna happen.
Wendy was seeing her fate, the dad, all that stuff that was going to. You just wanted her to go, but hey, interesting. If you haven't seen Ozark, go watch it. I know we just spoiled it, but go watch it regardless.
And Navarro's sister.
Yes, Camilla.
She looks ruthless.
Yes, she looks. Everyone in that, everyone listen. Everyone in the cartel is trying to kill someone, so it's just nuts. It's just nuts, regardless. And man, anything else? Anything left we want to get to it all? Anything you want to say? When's your next episode?
Shout out to Jalen Harris, who's back in the city.
Yes, shout out to Jalen Harris. I think he put up numbers in the other league as well too, so he's back. You think he's back on the team?
I'm hoping so. Because he's a guy who was just a rookie when the incident happened, and he has a lot of potential, man. He can shoot the ball, can handle the ball. He has some good athleticism. I think he could be a good player, man. So people make mistakes. You just kind of correct it and come back. And I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping to see him do some things.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to Jalen Harris and shout out to the Raptors development units, of course, too, man. But hey, we're all ready to get out here, man. It's supposed to be a great series. We can come back hopefully in a few days and we'll talk a little bit more about what's happening soon, eh? Awesome.
Absolutely. And one more thing, we didn't mention the draft, and we'll talk about that. The draft lottery.
Talk about the draft
lottery.
We
got to talk about that as well. Potential prospects. Maybe what it's looking like 1 through 10. We'll talk about that.
They hate Portland, by the way. They don't want Portland to live at all. I'm just letting you know right now. They hate Portland. Like Portland's where literally you go to die in your career for some reason. They hate it. Anyways, this is my podcast. You can find Michael Roach on Mike_Roach_ on Twitter, Mike Roach7 on Instagram, myself at Graham_JB on Twitter, and G_JB on Instagram. This is my podcast. Keep balling.